Hello, indie authors. Welcome to episode 22 of the podcast. We're still in August of 2019 at the time of recording, and today I'm here with Cai Emmons. Hi, Cai.
Hello there, Valerie.
Hello. I'm gonna read your bio, and then we'll ask a few questions. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So Cai Emmons is the author of the novels His Mother's Son, The Stylist, Weather Woman, and the forthcoming Sinking Islands. His Mother's Son won the Ken Kesey Award for the novel. Weather Woman was awarded a Nautilus Book Award and was shortlisted for the Eric Hawthor Grand Prize. Her story collection, Vanishing, winner of the 2018 Leapfrog Press Fiction Contest, will be published in March 2020. Formerly a playwright and screenwriter, her short work has appeared in such publications as Tri-Quarterly, Narrative, and Arts and Culture, among others. She's a graduate of Yale University, New York University, and the University of Oregon, where she taught in the creative writing program from 2002 to 2018. She's now a full-time writer. Wow, that's awesome.
Yes, I'm delighted to be able to be a full-time writer now. It really has changed my life.
Oh, that was going to be one of my questions, man. Congratulations. When I read that, I was so excited for you. You stopped teaching in 2018 then, a year ago?
Well, officially, I think I'm just kind of finishing my contract, but I within my last contract, I had taken a year off, so I really haven't taught since last year. And what it's really meant for me is a lot of the time that I did spend teaching, I'm now trying to sort of putting into promoting my books and, writing other kinds of articles and various things. So that has been really good. I mean, I feel, I guess I kind of see myself as a small business now.
Yes, absolutely. That's so amazing. Yeah. Have you thought about doing any hybrid publishing, or do you have any projects that you wanted to indie publish yourself as well as staying with the traditional publisher you're with?
I'm kind of more into staying with a traditional publisher because of the distribution factor. When you're with a traditional publisher, they have a built-in distribution, and so even though you need to promote your books, you don't have to distribute them.
Yeah.
So that is, for me at this point, a lot easier.
Nice. What's your day look like now that you're a full-time writer? So exciting to say that. I'm so happy for you.
It has been my habit for a number of years now, even when I was teaching, to write first thing in the morning. And so I write for usually probably about 4 hours or so, and then I'll take a break. I mean, some walking around the house in those 4 hours, some little stretching and stuff, but I try to keep I try not to interact with the world before that. And then the world calls, or I'll go to yoga or do something. And then when I come back to work, then I'm usually doing more sort of housekeeping, promoting kinds of activities. Sometimes I'll do some of the mundane things that have to do with writing. Since I write longhand, there's always some time that needs to be spent typing things into the computer. So that's a kind of a more kind of just little mundane task that I try not to devote my most creative writing hours to.
That's really interesting. When I first started writing, I would also write longhand and then put it into the computer. But the first time I tried writing that NaNoWriMo, when you write really fast, I had to teach myself to compose on the computer because it was just, I was losing too much time.
It is really time consuming. And, but it does also, well, I guess I have not been able to train myself not to write longhand. And I feel like now it's sort of integral to my writing process.
Do you edit as you go when you put it into the computer?
Minor edits. I try not to do major edits, just whatever. I try not to get hung up on that because then it will take me too long. So I try to just type it in as I've written it and then save the edits for, then usually I'll read through and make some edits when I read through, and then I'll print it out. And I really love to do edits also with a hard copy,
Oh yeah, I do that for the first round through. I do that too.
Yeah.
So I asked this question we started talking about being a full-time writer in the process and all that, but before we got into that, I wanted to ask you to tell us about your latest book and the tour that you've been on. You have your own van, I think.
Yes. Well, I decided that I was going to really throw myself into the publicity surrounding my most recent book, Weather Woman. And because I was working with a publisher that really was open to thinking outside the box, I started, thinking, what am I good at, and what could I imagine that would, kind of help this book? And I thought, well, I like talking to people, and I really respect booksellers, independent booksellers. So I devised this idea that I got hold of a van, and I put the cover of the book on the outside of the van. And I drove around the Northwest and actually beyond. I went in the end all the way to Colorado, visiting independent booksellers with advanced readers' copies, and talking it up and giving them a copy and telling them what it was about, and in hopes that they would stock it. So I did. I spent a good deal of last summer doing that, and then of course when the book came out, then I did more of sort of conventional. I've been, tours of bookstores, but then also festivals and whatnot. So it's been an adventure. It certainly has opened me up to understanding that, that I have some skill in this arena that I didn't realize I had.
That's good. Growing and growing your strengths.
Yeah. I can't say I love it as much as I love writing, but I do now regard it as just essential to do if you want to keep yourself afloat as a writer.
Yes, yeah. And then as far as like paid advertising, does your publishing company do that, your publisher, or do you do Amazon ads?
Some of it. But, another thing that I did that was a little bit outside the box, although not as much as one would think, was I made I used to work in film, and I worked in I taught in cinema studies at U of O as well. And so I found a student, a recent graduate of the cinema studies program, who helped me make a little book trailer for Weather Woman. And it turned out his specialty was special effects. And so it was a perfect match for him. And he made this wonderful little trailer that, it's very professional looking, but it was extremely cheap, because he was 20 years old and just out of school. So it was a wonderful experience. And I actually had that playing at the Bijou Cinema for a while. And
neat.
I've had it, on YouTube. So I show it periodically when I have a book event,
Do you find that is helpful in promoting your book?
Well, I think it has been helpful. It's fairly hard to translate into sales, but it certainly has created a lot of visibility, and it has also been useful for me as an opener to talking about the book, because it sort of sets up the parameters of the book. And
that's, I think, the best reason to have a book trailer right there. It's an icebreaker for all the introverts that don't want to go out and talk about their book. You can just...
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And, a lot of times I'll just give people, I'll just tell people about it, and they can go to YouTube and find it. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No. I mean, I noticed that a lot of people have been doing this. I was thinking it was kind of a out there thing to do, but more and more I think a lot of people are doing this, just kind of, on the off chance that it will draw more readers.
It can't hurt, right?
Yeah. Right, exactly.
So this season on the podcast, I'm talking about mindset and work-life balance. on all of the subjects that fall under that heading. Do you
Yeah.
have any mindset or work-life balance tips or life hacks that you use or would care to share? Not to put you on the spot, but
Okay, let's see. I mean, well, I'm really a believer in habit.
mm,
um, and the value of an almost of setting up a time and a place to work, and then the way that has almost a Pavlovian impact on the writing brain. Um, if I situate myself in the same place every morning with my cup of coffee and my pen and pad of paper, um, it is at this point it is just a habit to write, and my brain sort of responds by producing ideas and sentences, and the process gets going. And I know some people feel that inspiration is necessary before they sit down to write, but I think inspiration comes because you sit down to write.
yes.
If you set it up right. So that, I would say, has been my my kind of answer to being my way of being productive over the years has been simply sitting down to do the work. And there's another thing about doing the work when things are not going as well in the sort of marketplace. It's just the work is comforting. The work is where it all begins and where it needs to end in some way. And so I find that I don't mind. I mean, I often have said I would be content. I would keep writing even if I weren't selling my work, just because I love to do it so much. So there's that.
I agree too. Yes. So I think I've read all of your books. The first one I read was His Mother's Son, which was really poignant for me because at the time I had a fairly assertive child.
Yes,
so
I know the kind.
It resonated with me, and often was something that I was thinking about too. And I really love the themes that are at the base of all of your books. And then The Stylist was about the transgender community and people's mindsets about that going in and coming out of the book.
Right.
And what would you say is the theme of Weather Woman? And then also Sinking Islands. When does that come out?
And Sinking Islands comes out in 2021. I think the early 2021.
Okay.
And then Vanishing will come out in the early 2020, March of 2020.
And that's separate. That's that's just short stories. Is that right?
That's short stories.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's interesting because even I sort of see Weather Woman as being about female empowerment. The main character, is very timid and uncertain at the beginning. Has been, quit her job, doesn't feel like she belongs in a PhD program. Has quit the PhD program, doesn't feel that she belongs there, and has taken a job that isn't quite right for her and is dumped by her boyfriend. At any rate, she's at a low point in her life, and then begins to kind of realize that she has this power, and then has to learn how to use it and embrace it, and figure out where it situates her differently in the world. But here's the thing about that book is that it has this also a strong element of being about climate change, and science and whatnot, and intuition. But this climate change thing, a lot of people see the book as being about climate change. Well, whereas I would say, yes, it's got climate change in it, but it's really about female empowerment. Sinking Islands, the sequel to Weather Woman, really is squarely about climate change.
Okay.
Much more. I mean, I try not to write polemical books, but this is probably the book that has while having a million characters and a strong storyline, it does also have a bit of a call to action in some ways.
Nice.
So, yeah, but it was fun because I haven't ever seen myself as a person who is a sequel writer, but there was something unresolved at the end of Weather Woman, and I was really still interested in the main character Bronwyn and her mentor Diane, and I loved exploring that relationship of where they were going to go next. And so I think because that interested me so much, it sort of propelled me through writing the sequel just rather unexpectedly. Yeah.
That was from your publisher's request, or was that just, there's a...
No, I did it on my own, and I didn't give it to my publisher until Weather Woman was sort of launched, because I didn't want to cloud the atmosphere with that yet. But they really liked it, and so I was really happy.
Oh, good.
Because, yeah.
That's exciting. Hey, I wanted to give a little plug about your upcoming talk. So on Wednesday, September 4th at 7 p.m. in Eugene, Oregon at Tsunami Books, Cai's going to be speaking about the evolution of a novel. Do you want to do a little blurb on that?
Well, one of the things that I was thinking about was how this novel, Weather Woman, has been a little bit of a departure for me for several reasons. One, there's a strong, both of those main characters in it are scientists and well-versed in science. So I knew I would have to do a lot of research about science and kind of get grounded in that. So that was one big challenge. Another big challenge was at least one of the places I was writing about was a place that's kind of exotic and I have never been. And so I had to find a way into that. That's a place in Siberia on the Laptev Sea, Tixi, Russia. And then the third big challenge was that there's a supernatural element in this book that hasn't really, or a fantasy element that hasn't really existed in my other novels, which have been decidedly realistic. And even though I call this a realistic novel with this one, just one fantasy element, I had to figure out how I was going to handle that element, how I was going to work it seamlessly into what was otherwise a realistic novel. So in my talk, I sort of address each of those three challenges of the book. And, hopefully it'll be elucidating for people who are working on books themselves. And
awesome. Thank you. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing you at that talk.
Me too. I like doing it. This is so funny. I've been teaching for years, but I've never been called upon to do a PowerPoint presentation as part of teaching. So I really enjoyed putting together the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah. When I first started teaching, that was what I figured I had to do that. I thought that's what all presentations, had an element of too. So I designed my very first PowerPoint presentation when I first started teaching, and it was so fun. And it really pretty much all my classes have that element to it now. So where can people find you and your books online, Cai?
Well, my website is www.caiemmonsauthor.com. You can also get to me through caiemmons.com. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. The Weather Woman has a Facebook page, and Instagram. I'm on Instagram as well. Those are probably the best places to find me.
All right, and we should say that Cai is spelled C-A-I.
Yeah, C-A-I. Right.
Just in case you didn't know. So thank you so much for your time, Cai. That was awesome.
Thank you so much. I hope the sound quality is okay.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for talking to me.
Okay.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.